Let's take a look at how styles can simplify the creation of your application. We'll create a new application called Styles, and in the grid, we will create row definitions for 3 rows with auto size, and then a 4th row that'll take up the rest of the grid. We'll also add column definitions for 2 columns in the ratio of 1 to 2. In the first row, we're going to place a text block to act as a prompt, and so we'll set its text equal to first name. We want to control the appearance of this text block, so we'll set the margin to 5, and we'll set the font size as well. Let's give this a large font of 24, and we want it to be in bold, so we'll set the font weight to bold, which you can see is from an enumeration, so we just pick the value that we want. That's our text block. Next, we'll put a text box next to it in the second column. Give it a name so we can refer to it programmatically. Set the column to 1, because remember that the grid row and grid column default to 0. And here too we'll set its appearance. We want its horizontal alignment to be left. We want its font size to match that of the text block, so 24. We'll set a margin of 5 so that they line up. And we need to give the text box a width and a height. All of that is perfectly normal the way we've been doing things. However, when we want to create a second text block and a second text box, we can copy and paste, change the prompt to say last name, tell it that this is going to be in the second row, and change the name of the text box, place it in the second row. But all of that information about alignment and margin and width and height and so forth is replicated. And redundant information does and should make you nervous. So we're going to move that information out into a resource. Come up to the top where window resources are and create a style. Give the style a key so that we can refer to it. So we'll refer to the first one as prompt style and set its target type for what type of object will this style be applied against, in this case text block. We then create a series of setters. Each setter has a property and a value, and these match to the properties that we set in the text block. For example, we can set the font size with a value of 24. We can set the property to margin with a value of 5, and we can set the font weight with a value of bold. Once we have the style, we can go down to our text block and take out that styling information and replace it with a style property, which we will set to the static resource that we just created. Not only does that greatly simplify the definition of the text block, but it means that if we want to change that style for each of these text blocks, we can do it in one place in the style rather than having to track it down to every text block. We can do the same thing for the text box. We can create a style, set its key to entry style, and set its target type to text box, and fill in setters for all of the properties that all of our text boxes will have in common. Once we have that, again, we can take all those properties out of the individual text boxes and replace them with a style set to the static resource that we created above. Now if we want to add a third text block and text box, we can copy and paste, change the essential information such as the prompt and the grid row and the name, but all of the styling information comes with the static resource. Let's run that. And you can see that the styling information has set the font size, has set the bold and the alignment for the text box and so forth. All of this is terrific, but each of our text boxes and text blocks has to specifically identify the type we want. There is such a thing as an implicit style. If we take the key out, but leave the target as text block, then that will be implicitly assigned to every text, and we no longer have to set the style property on the text block. It'll be implicit. Similarly, we can take the key out of the entry style so that it says target type equal text box but without a key, and then we can remove all the style settings on the text boxes as well. You can see that this greatly simplifies the XAML. And because those styles are implicit, they will be applied. Let's run the application, and we can see that they are still applied as they were previously.